Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time and joining us tonight. My name is Heidi Jobson. I'm the Communications Officer for Temagami First Nation. I want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on our website under the member portal at temagamifirstnation.ca. If you look to the bottom of your screen, you should see a raise hand option. Please use this when you want to speak to Joseph and the group. And alternatively, you can use the Q&A option, and this is where you can type your question and I'll read it out. Please only use the chat option for chit chat and commentary. The panelists and myself, we can all see this, but questions could get overlooked in that option. So the Q&A is the better option for asking a question or making a statement that you want heard. I'd like to remind everyone to remember to keep yourselves muted, which isn't really too hard because I have to unmute you at this end, but it helps to avoid audio interruptions and just to maintain courtesy. So if you're calling in, *9 will raise your hand and *6 can be used to mute and unmute yourself. Welcome, Joe. Joseph Pinawanakwat is the owner of Creator's Garden. He focuses on traditional plant medicines and explains the teachings in both the traditional and scientific approach. If you haven't already, like and follow his Facebook for some really amazing and useful guidance on how to identify, harvest, and use the medicines. Thanks for being with us, Joe. Did you want to get started?
Let's go. Yeah. Oh, Diva, your background got all blurry. I remember being in there. Was that your grandpa? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot. But I had
just my mom and my dog.
Yeah. Oh man. I had okay. So how did all this happen again? I think I started to do well, actually, you know what? Oh no, we're only in the beginning of June. I thought we were already at the end of June. It's what it almost felt like. But I finally started doing, I think we launched our first online program, pilot project, at the end of June, early July last year. So it's almost been 1 year since we've been doing stuff online now. And you know what? When the heck was I in Temagami that one time with all those kids? That was like,
I think that was like July 2019.
Yeah. That was awesome. And we took the Trump finger selfie. I couldn't find that picture. We went and got all of the bark and that was super cool. And the whole pontoon there was full of that was awesome. Okay, so I just real quickly, well, I guess I should let me hit this. Yeah. Yeah, so I had, okay, so man, okay, my bad. I'm Joe. And yeah, like Heidi said, I'm Joe and I grew up in Wikwamkong. But I always everybody always talks about Temagami like a little sanctuary, like a little haven, and I never even got to go until real, like, just a couple of years ago, like real late in my life. I'm just a kid still, but actually the first time that I went, one of the first medicines that I kind of wanted to talk about tonight was super cool. So I wonder if yeah, I mean, okay, so I learned about medicine from my grandma. You know what, just real quickly, I guess I should just say that yeah, I learned about medicine from my grandma. She was our main source of knowledge and motivation and inspiration to learn about plants and it's weird. Like, when I first started to learn, I didn't even really understand what was happening. Really, I was only just asking my grandma to tell us real awesome stories, like stories that I knew like were crazy. Like, when my grandma was 12, she watched the first two cars come into to Wikwemkong, our community. And I was like, 12? Man, by the time I was 12, I had a computer. I think we still had dial-up internet, but still dial-up internet was cool because you could hear the and then you could hear it connect and everything. So like it felt real high tech. And then I was like, my grandma, when she was 12, that's when she saw the first car. And that's also when she saw money for the first time. Like she says, oh yeah, one day I was watching my mom, she was putting clothes on the line, and she was just, just a little girl, 12 years old, sitting there on the porch, and then her mom is hanging clothes on the clothesline after they did laundry together. So my grandma said, she was just taking a break, and her mom hangs everything up. And then all of a sudden, her mom got real careful, real finicky, and grabbed like this tiny little piece of clothing and hung it on the line. And she was being real particular, real careful with it. And she was like, who the heck would wear that? It was like this big. And she was like, that's it. What kind of clothes is that? And then her mom said, oh, that's money. And I had to explain to her what money was when she was like 12. So I just thought like my grandma just was like so old school. She was my grandma got to keep her back. I guess at that period in time, little boys were very much more valued. Sounds super weird, especially now to say it this way, but more valued to be taken to or sorry, the little girls were much more highly valued to be taken into residential school. And so my grandma said that her mom made her look like a boy, cut her all her hair and put her in boy clothes, and try to make her sound different so that she won't get taken away. And and so it was just super interesting that my grandma kind of had this. Yeah, it wasn't even that. That's just my grandma, but that's what happened to her. And she never had a hospital. She grew up like if she grew her own food, like grew all of her own vegetables, and then if she didn't, they would just starve and die. And then she didn't see money or cars until she was 12. Like I just thought I had the coolest grandma, so I was always visiting with her and like asking her for these crazy, which was what I thought was just crazy stories. And to me, I guess the craziest idea, because my mom is a registered nurse in Wiki on Manitoulin for like the like 26 years or whatever, and she was actually pregnant with me when she graduated from nursing school, and worked in the force that field ever since. And my mom, like, I know I'm like historically biased when I say this, but she was like a real good nurse. Like she was always studying. She never stopped. She was always nose in the books, always researching. And then even when I was in high school, she went back to or finishing elementary school, early high school, she went back to school for massage therapy because she wanted to gain a deeper understanding of tissues in the body. And then so she goes to Canadian College of Massage and Hydrotherapy, and then while she's there, she's correcting all of the professors. And like I went to school with her a couple times, and then she'd be like, oh, actually no. And it was like, wow. So like my nurse mommy was pretty good. And then to hear her mom talking about plants, it was so messed up for me, because like how can you survive on just plants as medicine when we have nurses and doctors and surgery and medication and the IDA or like Shoppers Drug Mart. Like it was just really unusual. So those are all of the stories that I asked my grandma to tell, and just because they were the most fascinating to me, but I didn't realize I was learning. Like she was teaching me when she would talk about all these different plants and how she had to use them, how they were used, and so yeah, I just have lots of fun, kind of just hanging out with everybody, teaching anybody and everybody that I can about all of these really incredible medicines that my grandma taught me about. But yeah, there's lots of things. Okay, so uh, I have a friend, and he took me to Costa Rica when I was in high school. See, when I was in high school, I was real bad, like real bad wiki kid in high school, and one of my teachers, like I don't think he didn't really like me, and the group that I hung around. This is actually important for me to say, but the group that I hung around with in high school, their parents were police officers, doctors. Their parents were, had all of these. Well, they're real rich all the time. So I was like, that's who I befriended in high school, and it was like grade 11, and everybody was talking about this Costa Rica trip, and then I remember from Home Improvement, like the Tim Allen show, like when that guy got to go to the guy who played Simba on Lion King, he got to go to Costa Rica, and then it was like a big thing. And then I remember watching that when I was a kid, like, oh, this guy on Home Improvement, he gets to go to Costa Rica. And then just the way he talked about it, then I could hear my friends talking about it, talking about Costa Rica. And I was like, oh, I want to go. But it was like $1,600 for, but like everybody else, police and doctors and pharmacists, all their parents just kind of like no problem. And then my parents, though, we were kind of like, whoa, I didn't even want to ask. And then, and then I ended up asking, and then we went. Or my, sorry, we were having dinner, and then I asked, and then my parents said, okay, no problem. I was like, what? Even though I'm real bad, like they just dished out real good. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Costa Rica with all my rich friends. And then my teacher, who was organizing all of this, he didn't really like that because he knew I'm real bad, and then he didn't want me, because it's dangerous. You have to watch all of these kids' behavior, and I'm bad, and so whatever. But there was a partnership there between a school in Sudbury and the teacher who was chaperoning or organizing for all of those kids. He was real awesome. His family is in Temagami. Larry and Lorraine. What are their last names? Which are? Anyways, they're somewhere around there. Cobalt, I think. And I clicked with that guy real good. Like I hung out with him. Like I got to Costa Rica safe, and then he was there. So like he likes going outside. He did lots of his master's research out in the bogs of Temagami. And so in all of the stories that I grew up hearing about, all of these really special places, they're really special because on Manitoulin they're very rare, where you get that really thick sphagnum moss, and you get cranberries growing on them, and you get what are they, pitcher plants in there as well, like these carnivorous plants. And you get lots of Labrador tea, Where is it? Right here. Should be right here. Oh yeah, right here. See, you got lots of Labrador tea in there. And then for me, living in Wiki, everyone would always say, there's this real special place where you get lots of medicine that grows, and they would describe the way that it looks. So they would describe exactly that. The Aninonduck is the black spruce, and you get Shiwotagos, which is tamarack, and you would get thick moss, Osakamik. You'd get a whole carpet of moss, and you'd get you'd get all the cranberries, you get the Labrador tea, you would get pitcher plants, and I really want to talk about all of these with you guys. I'm not just like ringing these off super fast, but the pitcher plant for really good women's medicine and back pain, kind of things. And like everybody would just always describe this super magical place. Oh, where's that? Oh, Temagami. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I got to go to Temagami. And then here I am in Costa Rica with this guy. And that's where he's from, Temagami. That's where he did all of his research from, is in Temagami. And so we hit it off real good, talking about all this real awesome medicine and this type of ecosystem, a bog. And it was super interesting because I stayed in real close contact with him after. We actually went moose hunting together, which is kind of bad because I never asked Temagami or Bear Island for permission. I guess I'm supposed to do that. But Dave was just like, let's go. So I was like, okay, let's go. And then I was hunting in your territory without permission, but it was super fun. And so we were getting we were in this spot where you could everybody else who was there, my dad, Dave, like everybody, my uncle Jerome, everybody was they were like dogs, so they ran in this massive area and to try to scare all of the moose. And I was in this funnel where all of the moose go, and it was my job to actually be there to get the moose. And so everybody was like running and running and running and running. And so I just had to sit still and just wait for all the moose, because the way the land is, they all just funnel in there, the way they described it, like a storybook. And so I was like, okay. And then I was waiting. And then I got a little cold. Oh, okay, I'll just go for a small little walk. So I went for a little walk just to warm up a little bit. Then I found chaga. And so I was like, oh, check out that chaga. Holy, real big, juicy one. And then so I hit it off the tree. And then I thought I heard, something running. And I thought, it's probably just a squirrel. Because, squirrels, they sound so massive, and you think it's a moose coming, but it was just a squirrel. It happens to me all the time. Maybe I'm just a bad hunter, but I thought, I thought I heard something, but it was probably just a squirrel. So I just kept picking chaga. And then I found another one. Like everywhere I looked, I was like, oh, look at all this chaga. Holy. And then, and so I ended up picking real lots. And then I looked and I was like, oh, it's already 11. You're supposed to have lunch. So then I ran back to the truck and then to have lunch. And then everyone was like, so did you see anything? Because I'm pretty sure we were onto some, we scared some towards it. And I had a whole big I actually used my jacket like a big bag, and I had a whole bunch of chaga though. I was like, no, I didn't see no moose. And I could hear them all the time. And then they knew it all. And then so we were there on the side of the road somewhere in Temagami. Like I don't even actually know where. But I started processing all of the chaga because you have to do it right away, because the chaga will um, harden on you. I wonder if I could show you a picture. Um, yeah, so the chaga you have to process right away. Um, it's got this black, really hard black part on the outside. I should have some right here somewhere. Up, 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 hey, where'd it go? Oh yeah, right here. There it is. Oh no, it didn't work there. Let me try in this one. My bad. Just wait. Okay, so oh, 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 oh. Oh yeah, right there. Okay, so should be there. Yeah. So you get the chaga that grows on the birch. It was all over your yellow birch there. Tons. It was so beautiful, so massive too. I remember they were so heavy, like I can barely even carry them back to the vehicle. But you get these big black chunks. Skitagan is what we call it, and yeah, just plucked them off the tree. That's all I did. And then you bring them back and you got to scrape off all that black stuff off the outside because it turns into like a rock. Like that black stuff on the outside of the chaga will be like cement. And that's where all of the medicine is for chaga. When you're making tea, smoke medicine that you use the inside. But for medicine, when we're talking about like diabetes and when we're using it for things like cancer and well, all of those comorbid conditions associated with diabetes, use that black part on the outside. And so you got to scrape it off right away though. Otherwise you can't get it off. So you got to do it quickly. And then, and so as soon as I picked it there, we were all having lunch and, I started scraping off that chaga on the tailgate right away to make sure that it doesn't harden on me. Um, and then this black truck pulled by us, and some guy named Frank. Everybody was like, "Oh, hi, Frank." So I was like, "Oh, hi, Frank." I didn't even know who he was, but you could see he was really sick. I think he was with his son, and they came out of the truck and they were like. They were just visiting with us. Oh yeah, we funneled them into the one spot, and none of them went by. So I just kept working, and because I think lots of moose went by. But I that guy was real interested though. Frank, he came up and he was like, "What are you doing?" And told him I'm making medicine that we use it for diabetes. We use it for all of those associated diseases like cancer and all of this stuff. So, oh wow, oh so you know how to use that kind of medicine? That's good. And then he said, "Oh, you got for MS," and it was in the fall, because I guess he has really bad MS. And one thing with MS, you get like real forgetful too, like because it's a neurodegenerative disease, and yeah, you get a little bit forgetful, and there's a lot of pain associated with it, and so yeah, MS is just a usually um yeah, a little bit of an ugly disease. And he was like, "What do you do for MS?" And I was so young, kind of in my learning, that I did not really know. I just knew that MS is a neurodegenerative disease, and that my grandma tells me that there's a medicine that we use for everything to do with your electricity in your body, is the way that she described it. all of the light that's inside of you is the kind of more explicitly the words that she would use. And she would say, oh, like your brain and for your feeling and for all of that, which is light is responsible for. And so that's what I was telling Frank. And then I guess his son was really interested in the chaga, and then Frank was asking me about medicine for MS, and so I was kind of confused when I was talking with them, but I was trying to talk to everybody at the same time. All the while, I'm suppressing the lie of not really chasing moose, and so I was even confused. Then you get Frank with MS, who his ability to express himself and remember is confused because of the disease. Anyways, um, he said, oh, you think that would help? I was like, well, I mean that's what my grandma says. When you have issues with your nerves and your brain, that this is it. And so that's what she said. And he was like, wow, it's funny, those lady slippers plants. He said, when me and my wife moved into our home, wherever that is, somewhere in Temagami area ish, he said that there was like a few lady slipper in their yard. And he says, well, everybody wants to have nice grass in their yard, and grass is like shows that you're rich or something. And so he said, oh, they wanted grass. And so he mows the lawn, even though there's lots of flowers. He said, I knew there was something wrong, but he would wait for all of the flowers to bloom. And then when all the flowers died off, which is just about almost this time, like maybe towards the middle end of June, then he'd mow the yard. What was really happening though, because you guys know lady slipper flowers come up super early in the year and then they die. But when they die, they turn into seeds, and they'll make a little seed pod, and each lady slipper flower will make like 100,000 seeds. It looks like flour, like dust inside of the seed pod, but there's just hundreds of thousands of seeds, or maybe like almost 800,000 seeds in there. So a lot of seeds. Anyways, Frank would basically wait for the plant to go to seed, and then he'd mow his yard. And when he would mow his yard, he would essentially could just cut all of those seed pods down and plant the seeds in his yard. And he was like, oh, I know this lady slipper. He's like, when I first moved into my house, there's a couple in my yard. And then now, like 20 years later, 25 years later or whatever, he said my whole yard, there's real lots. And he said, I think it's because I would wait until they were done blossoming, then I'd mow my yard to make nice rich looking grass. But he essentially planted all of that, and he was like, I have lots. How do you use that medicine? And so I started getting a little bit nervous and concerned. Oh, well, you should be careful with like you need to know how to use all of these plants. So I'm thinking, oh, well, Frank, you should write this down. And he's like, and then he looked for a pen and everything in his little black truck. And then he said, oh, we'll be okay. And he asked his son to remember, but son's trying to learn about chaga. So like, I was like, what ifs? Okay. So what you need to do, Frank, is you need to use these lady slipper roots, and you make tea and you drink that. And that's going to help with a lot of that reparation, and hopefully with your disease, MS. Oh, okay. And then I said, you know what, though? There is another medicine that I know that is going to be really, really helpful to you. And it grows all over. It was actually right beside us. Cedar, gijagandak. So you make gijagandak, the cedar tea, and that'll help clean your body out a little bit. And when you're nice and clean, then the medicine is from the lady slipper. Gopi soin is what we'll call it, but that gopi soin from the lady slipper will be able to do its job much better when your body is nice and clean from the cedar. So you need to clean your body first, then you use that medicine, it'll do exactly. So he's repeating to himself, okay, the cedar tea for the, and then I told him, like, just soak it in, make a pot of tea, put it in your bathtub, and then you soak in that. And so you soak in the cedar tea, and then you drink the lady slipper tea. Okay. So he's like ruminating on those instructions as he's leaving. And then we kept moose hunting, and then I forgot about Frank. Um, um, and I forgot about Frank for a long time. And we did not get any moose that time, but it was super fun. And with the witchars there, we ate good food, and it was a totally enjoyable experience. Probably even contributed to me forgetting about Frank. But anyways, we're like months later, like 8 months later. I felt like it was almost a year later. I sent a message to Dave. I texted him, Larry and Lorraine's son. I said, "Hey, how's Frank?" And then he says, "Oh, let me ask my dad." And then so he called his dad, and he said, um, he texted me, "Oh, I just finished talking with my dad, and he said that he just finished having breakfast with Frank at some like a breakfast place. I don't know what it was. I mean, I forget now, but they went and had breakfast together that day, right when I asked. And then Larry said, Frank is doing good. Best he's felt basically since his diagnosis. He was feeling like he was doing really well. And he said he said it has to be because of that medicine. He had lots of time where he was feeling like just on top of the world. And then he wanted to have breakfast with Larry to tell him all that. So I was like, oh, holy, so that medicine seemed to help with MS, with multiple sclerosis, an autoimmune disease that there's basically nothing we could do other than comfort measure in Western science, or like at a hospital or something. And so kind of piecing together this idea that I had between my mom and my grandma of just like, we have doctors and pharmacists and a whole some of the richest industries in the world that are trying to provide opportunities for people to be healthy. And then you have my grandma just kind of living off of plants and whatever plants can do. And then I'm kind of realizing that, hey, well, these plants are able to do things that these doctors can't, and that this whole industry can't. There's something really special here, because Frank is having the time of his life. But it was real bad because Larry says, Larry says, well, there was one critique though. One critique. What do you mean? Oh, well, he was not too impressed with. He said the tea was delicious. The tea tasted so good, and the bath though. He would make a bath, and he said it smelled so awful that he would physically vomit in the tub, or like outside the tub, is what, like somebody had to be there with the bucket, because it was so nasty smelling sitting in the tub that he would puke. Sorry if you're eating supper. And I was like listening, and oh my god, you know what happened? Frank was drinking cedar tea, and he was bathing in the lady slipper roots. And how I know that is because cedar tea is like magical smelling. It is one of the most beautiful smelling teas, one of the most beautiful smelling plants and tasting tea like ever. If you do cedar tea good, I'll take this into kindergarten classes, and 15 kindergarten kids will drink 4 gallons of tea in like an hour. So it tastes really good. But lady slipper root tea, um it it smells like cat pee. Like if you can, like it's when you pick it, it smells like cat pee. I picked a bunch. I remember one time I was on my way home from Sudbury, picked a whole bunch just because we pulled over, just take a little break, go for a little walk. And there's a bunch of lady slipper. Oh, I'll just pluck a couple of these, and so we have some for the winter. And so I had a little bag, just a tiny, tiny little amount because you barely need any, tiniest little bit. And then I brought them home, and when we got home, it was super late because we kept stopping for walks. But we were super late when we got home, and then so I didn't bring everything inside. My wife was like, "Oh, where's my bathroom bag?" And so, "Oh, I gotta go get it. It's in the car still." "Oh, my daughter, where's my cup? I need my cup." "Oh, I gotta go get it in the car." Everything was just in the car, and then I had to leave. I had to go to Toronto super fast, so I was like, "Hey, I gotta go." And then I like having a nice, clean car, so I took everything. Then I just shoved everything. My wife hates this, but all at the front door, and so there was just a big pile of stuff at the front, emptied out the car, and one of those bags that I put there was bags of lady slipper roots. And then I went to my job. I worked for a couple hours, and then I got back into the car ready to come home. My wife sends me a message. Hey, so you know what I just did for 2 hours? I thought the cat peed somewhere in the house, because we have a cat, and then she's not very compliant with her, litter box. So a lot of the times, so you get little surprises. So you always turn the light on when you walk around here, just in case. And so my wife was like, "Yeah, so I thought she did her thing." So I went around the whole house, smelling every baseboard, smelling every little inch of the carpet to find where the cat peed, because she could smell it. Then it was your bag of lady slipper roots at the door. And my wife's sense of smell is so good. Like we had like 80 different plants all inside of jars, and we blindfolded her, and she identified every single one just by smelling it alone. So I know her sense of smell is rocking. And but yeah, that got her. It smells just like cat pee. It's horrible, and it tastes as you would imagine cat pee would taste like. It's horrible. And and Larry was bathing in it on accident. He should have been drinking the lady slipper root tea, and he should have been bathing in the cedar tea, but he got it backwards. Real simple mistake. Poor guy had MS. I should have found a pen and wrote it down for him. But it helped enough that he noticed a really tremendous um, uh, benefit in his life. My follow-up with Larry has been pretty dismal since that point, but I really appreciated that story because I I was so confident in that. Hey, well, I know lots of people with MS that that live all around me, family members that have MS, and neurodegenerative diseases, and even like epilepsy and things like that. I'm gonna pick some of this and give it to them to see how well it works. And it was super fun because from like Frank may not have had, and like I said, my follow-up with Frank sucks, but he might have not have had the most tremendous recovery that he could have, but he gave me the motivation that I needed to understand that there was something very valuable there. and I started to give it away to everybody, just like all this cat PT. And like one of my well, maybe I shouldn't even say, well, you guys know now, but one of my relatives, he um he has um um well, he's always been in trouble, kind of. And this is the main thing that I really wanted to share with everybody tonight, and then to talk about all of the other amazing things about Temagami. But this is super special, and I think going to be very valuable for everybody who's listening to this, is that yeah. So I have a relative there who had well, he's what we would call a druggie. Real into drugs, hard drugs. um and then the most amazing thing happened for him. He had a son was born. Kind of sounds funny if I say it like that, but he had a son. And he just cold turkeyed everything that he was doing, and he was clean, and he was doing really well. um but no one really knew that, though, because when he decided to come clean and quit all of the drugs that he was taking, uh um one of the um conditions that he was left with was insomnia. He had really bad insomnia for a solid 2 years. He was only sleeping 4 hours in an entire 24-hour period. He would sleep a total of 4 hours. So he'd like 20 minutes here, an hour there, maybe 2 hours here. But it would always add up to only 4 hours. That was like one of the residual effects of the drugs that he did, is that he couldn't sleep normally. And this really took a toll on him. And like, he would slur when he would talk. His eyes were super black bags under his eyes. They were real bloodshot, and he just looked really bad all the time. Like, his weight, he had his weight gain, like, he just looked horribly unhealthy. And everyone just kind of thought, well, this is because of the drugs. He never stopped. um and then what happened is his insomnia got even worse, where in a 24-hour period, he would sleep for one 25-minute block, one 25-minute chunk in an entire 24-hour period. Just 25 minutes randomly throughout the day. It could be 3 in the afternoon, 11 at night. um and so his insomnia got much worse. One of the worst recorded and longest lived insomnia episodes on the planet. He was being studied by 26 medical journals from all over the world in Sudbury, Ontario. Were watching, because he should have been dead. He's only sleep for 2 years, sleeping 4 hours, and then for the next 2 years only sleeping 25 minutes. He was a medical phenomenon that he was still alive, and everybody was studying him. And he was like, I don't know why. It's like, I don't know why these guys want to put me in those sleep studies. I don't sleep. And they put me on that cold table. I can't sleep. I don't know why they don't understand that. And then he was like real mad because he's so far gone in his insomnia. Like, he doesn't do drugs, but it was just a lack of sleep. He was so destroyed. He was like, I don't even understand. Like, I apply for jobs every day. Nighttime security. Like, these would be the best places for me to work. Like, because I don't sleep. So, like, I'll stay awake. I'll protect your property or whatever. No one will hire me. He was real mad. And then he, uh, um, yeah, he was just a really bad case of insomnia. And and it was contributing to the image that he had of being addicted to different kinds of drugs. And he had another son that was born, and he actually fell asleep. Those 25-minute sleep period that he had, he just all of a sudden it just hits him, and he fell over, and he fell asleep, and he was lying on top of his son, and his wife, because he's like a real big guy, his wife had to just kind of like hold him up as high as she could so that the baby could breathe underneath him, like real traumatic kind of. And so he's not allowed to hold his kids anymore because he almost suffocated the one because he just fell asleep. And so really crazy. Anyways, um, sleep is super important. And this is the medicine that helps with that, and it's super incredible what it's able to do. So my cousin there, his brother died, and whenever somebody dies, that's when you get to see all your family again, eh? So it's like a big family reunion, and I never made him the medicine. I knew he had really bad insomnia, and I know Lady Slipper is gonna help, but I never made it to Sudbury yet. So his brother died, and so he came to me, and so he was next door, and I made him the Lady Slipper root tea. My daughter was 18 months, and she smashed up all of the roots for him, and then I made tea with that. And at my parents' house, they just got new renovations. It's real beautiful inside. So like all of the kids were playing, and it was real nice to see. But as soon as I started making my tea, all the kids left. Hey, where are you guys going? It's nice to hear you running around and playing. Said, it smells like pee in here. I'm leaving. Because I was making that tea. And then my mom said, take that out of here. You're ruining our family time. So I poured him a mug, a mason jar, a liter full, like a lot. I made him a whole liter. I said, here, you can drink that. That'll help you sleep. So it was made with the roots all ground up. I made some tea, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And he's looking at it. It's like a light brown kind of color. And he opened it, and he was like, "No way!" And then I said, "Come on, like I swear, it'll help." Oh, okay. And then he drank it, closed his nose, and then he stood in front of the sink, and then he was like, "Oh." Retching, but he kept it all down, all that Lady Slipper tea. And that night, the day before his brother's funeral, he slept 9 hours. So he got more sleep than he would have in 3 weeks combined, all in one night. And so his brothers were waking him up in the morning, like 9 o'clock, like, get up, you got to get dressed. You're a pallbearer. And like, shaking him, and he didn't want to wake up because it's like the first time that he slept in 4 years. And so he's like, leave me alone. But like, you gotta remember, everybody just thinks he's on drugs all the time, and so that he did drugs, and then he's sleeping late. So everybody is being mean, like, get up, you can't act like this. And so he woke up, and then at the funeral, it was real funny. I mean, it was real sad because his brother was a young guy, and then everybody was bringing the pallbearers were bringing the coffin in, and then you could see like all the brothers holding him. They're all big guys, and crying away because it's their brother. And it's always real tough to see a really emotionally charged funerals on the res. And then but yeah, they were just crying away, and then there he was at the back, and then as soon as he turned the corner, he had a real big smile on his face, and his eyes were white, because he just slept 9 hours. When you have such a good sleep that you just like nothing can bring you down. Like you just had the best sleep, and so you're real happy. That's the way he was. But it was his brother's funeral, so like he had a real big smile on his face, and then you could see it. He was like trying to pretend to cry, and then everybody just thinks, oh, he must have did a bunch of drugs, and was getting real mad at him. And then his mom behind me, she hit me and she said, what, did you do that? How come he keeps looking at you? And then I said, yeah, I made him tea. And she said, I know about his condition. Uh, so that medicine helped him. I could see it. And, and the whole time there, he kept looking back at me. You know, all the pallbearers sit at the front of the church. He kept looking back at me with a real big smile. He was real happy, the sleep that he had. And ever since then, because that was one of the worst contemporary cases of insomnia that was literally on the planet, and that Lady Slipper Roots helped. And it was with this one, the Cypripedium maculae, these pink moccasin flower ones that you guys have like pretty well everywhere up there. And there's not a concern around them as there would be like the Reginae, which is a species at risk in Ontario. There's different all different lady slippers, and this is by far the most common one, and for me one of the most effective ones. And that's, I think, like as well as like just like what my grandmother said, all of that light, all of that energy inside of you, your brain, your spine, all of these things, that's what it helps with. But what this medicine is seems to be and like the MS, like Frank, but my grandma said what this is always talked about, like where this medicine's real gift is in sleep. And so when we used it on my relative there, and it was incredibly successful. He had the 1 liter, and it was pretty strong. And he just had the 1 liter, just the one experience with the tea, and he's still to this day sleeping 12 hours a night. It never changed. And like he never wavered from that. Like it just takes something that's off, say because of the drugs that he was on, and it just corrected it. And so he's just rocking like solid sleeps now, and forever. So like really happy he could hold his kids again, and get a job, and ended up being able to move into a nice home. And so it is like a really incredible story. From there, though, I started to, this was my daughter is 7, and she was 18 months around that time. And so ever since then, I started to really give this away to so many different people. Like this is an incredibly invaluable even my mechanic, because like he's working on my car. I don't want him to rip me off, so I tell him I'll help his wife, and his wife couldn't sleep. And so now I don't think that he's ripping me off anymore. So because I gave him just a little, his wife, just a small jar. I said, oh, she could have like a small cup. Like I have these little espresso cups, just a small little cup, and she'll go to sleep. And he was freaking out. His whole family changed when he because he got his wife back, and he like just everything that was falling apart. Like he's emotionally telling me everything that was happening. It was really intense. Like when mommy's not sleeping good, oh man, everything just starts to get flushed. And so you start taking care of mommy and her sleeps, and everything is probably, just about everything is going to be awesome. And so my mechanic, I was giving it away to everybody, and I was just observing like everybody that it was helping and how effective that it was working. And we don't pick too much of it at all. And so every time that I kind of give it away, it's really special. Like my mechanic. But I remember I was with a group in London, and we were doing a mental health and addictions program. So we deliver this program over like 15 days, all day, every day, 15 days. And it's really intense. And it's a lot of time that they're spending learning about medicine. So I wanted to give them a treat. So I said, we'll make you this tea, and it's going to knock all you right out. You'll have the best sleep of your life. And then I just kind of left it at that. For them, though, I made a really nice big pot. There was about 40 of us, and I made a big pot of tea, and everybody took home like big containers like this, mason jars, 500 mil mason jars or whatever. And everybody took that back home. Yeah. And just was drank it before they went to bed, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and just clunked right out all night. And no one came back. We were supposed to start at 8:30. It was like 10 o'clock. Nobody was there because they were all still sleeping. And so when they came back, they were all talking about the sleep that they had, like that they never even would have believed was possible. Like honestly, it's a really, really amazing thing for sleep. You go through like 5 to 7 sleep cycles every night. They're like 90 minutes long, and you have different stages of sleep that you go into, like light sleep, REM sleep, deep sleep. Yeah. And you're supposed to be in each stage of sleep for a prescribed amount of time. And then you come out, and then you go back down. And people will do things that try to help with sleep that really don't help, like using sleep aids, like from the doctor, like benzodiazepines, which have some pretty incredible side effects. And so most people who have sleeping problems will use alcohol or cannabis. And what's really interesting is that when you use like cannabis as a sleep aid, it removes your basically almost removes your REM sleep entirely. That's where you dream. That's where your brain will take everything that happened that day, everything that you learned. Say you learned uh, uh, um, 6 plus 6 equals 12. Your brain will take that little bit of learning that you did, 6 plus 6 equals 12, and your brain will say that over and over and over again, really, really fast. That's where you'll take things that you learned that day, and when you're in REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, when your eyes are moving super fast, that's when you remember everything. That's when you consolidate everything that you've learned, and you're able to consolidate and store it. Okay, 6 plus 6 equals 12, because you do that. 6 plus 6 equals 12, 6 plus 6 equals 12, and you just run through that over and over and over and over again, so that your brain remembers. It's just when you study everything. So when you use cannabis as a sleep aid, you lose REM sleep. You use that consolidation of thoughts and understandings for that day, but your deep sleep is longer. So you'll have a deeper sleep, but you lose REM sleep, and there's a detriment to that, your inability to learn and consolidate thoughts and efforts. And so when you use cannabis as a sleep aid, it's not technically the best thing. There's a negative consequence to that. And then when you use alcohol as a sleep aid, you fall asleep faster, which I guess is great. But you're supposed to have 5 to 7 90-minute sleep cycles throughout the night. And you'll fall asleep super fast, and you'll have real solid 1 or 2 sleep cycles. But starting 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're stuck awake. Basically, you don't get to any REM sleep or deep sleep when you use alcohol as a sleep aid. So you lose all of those early morning hours of sleep, and you wake up less rested. And so it's not the best sleep aid that's out there. And when you use Lady Slipper, it's super fun because you could use this in a clinical setting, like with people who are going to the sleep clinic and they're being tested. on the steel bed, which is weird, but the you fall asleep, and each stage of sleep you're in for the exact prescribed amount of time, and then you come out, and then you go fall back deeper into sleep, and then you come back up, and your sleep pattern and cycling is perfect. And when you wake up, you feel that, and it's a really, really incredible feeling. And when I made the tea for those like 40 people in Chippewas of the Thames in London, they only took like a half a liter, and the tea was made well, but it was not super strong. And then I was challenged with a group of 70. This is probably one of my favorite things to share with everybody tonight. And we'll hammer through a whole bunch of different medicine there in a second. But I had 70 people in New Credit, or the Credit, I guess. And they are always bringing me there. So, I feel really supported by that community. And so I wanted to give them a treat. So I said, oh, make them lady slipper so everybody has a real good sleep. They'll be real happy. So then I grabbed my lady slipper, and I barely even had any. I had like crumbs. It's like, what the heck? What happened to it? Because I just give it away, people who have MS, I'm never going to say no. And so that's where it ends up going. And so, yeah, I didn't have any. And so I asked my buddy, because I taught him how to pick medicine, and do you have lady slipper? Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll come by and I'll get it, and I'll make that tea for New Credit. Okay. Then I got there. He just had a couple crumbs. So I was combining my crumbs with his crumbs of lady slipper roots. Hardly any. I felt real bad, but I made it anyways. I had a 3.5 gallon pot, 70 people, and I had a half a teaspoon of lady slipper roots, just a half a teaspoon of lady slipper roots. And I let that medicine cook throughout the day. And then it was like 5 o'clock. So I told everybody after supper, take some lady slipper home, and drink that, 8, 9 o'clock or whatever. And they just had like small little jars, 125 ml mason jars. That's a half a cup. Everybody took home a half a cup of lady slipper root tea. That was made half a teaspoon for 3.5 gallons of water. So it was just barely like flavored water, hardly anything. And I was even a little bit ashamed, but I said, this is very powerful medicine. It might help with your sleep a little bit. So everybody took that tiny weak tea home, and drank it 8, 9 o'clock or whatever. And they all came back the next day with the same stories. Like in a half hour, they all fell asleep so fast, and they all had the deepest, most amazing, restful sleep. They felt like real brand new in the morning. I didn't even have coffee yet. I just feel so good when I woke up. And so it just needs to be like super weak. Does not need to be the strongest, disgusting, cat pee tasting tea. It just the tiniest little amount works. So if any of us go out and harvest these pink moxon flowers, these are, just understand that how powerful it is, and how you hardly need any to have massive results, especially with sleep. My favorite place to use this is when we get older. When we get older, we have trouble sleeping. And when we have trouble sleeping, we have trouble making muscle. Protein synthesis goes down, anabolic resistance begins, and you cannot make muscle and repair muscle easy as you get older. And when you lose your muscle, you begin to lose everything. Frailty as we age is one of the scariest things for me to understand and be able to speak about. And so anything that helps with that, sleep being very important, is going to be like just absolutely invaluable. So yeah, rocking real good sleeps is super important. This medicine has got to be just probably in its peak bloom right now for everybody, maybe even towards the end of its bloom, which is a more appropriate time to harvest. But I really wanted to share this. I think that when you're thinking about neurodegenerative disorders and mental health disorders, anxiety, depression, and lack of sleep, and all of the associated issues with this, like ADHD in children is um, uh, linked. I hate saying that. I mean, it's not causative, but in attention problems with kids, if they're sleeping appropriately, the chances of them developing or maintaining an attention deficit disorder is going to be very slim. You take everybody in Canada, all of the kids in Canada who are sleeping over 12 hours a night, or at least 12 hours a night, there's almost no recorded children in that cohort who have ADHD. You only really start to see ADHD kind of symptoms and diagnoses in kids who are sleeping less than 9 hours a night. So it's like a really important factor in the development of our kids. And like, man, I notice when my daughter doesn't get a good sleep, it's rough. It's brutal. So I can't imagine just not having good sleep. So it's a, this is a super important medicine. And I think like I was thinking, just I think Diva sent me an email asking me what I'm going to talk about tonight, and I kind of didn't even really know yet, because I was like trying to think of Temagami, this place that we glorify as this hub of super important medicine. And I was like trying to put myself there. What's the most, and I couldn't get this out of my head. So I really wanted to share that with everybody, just kind of give you a good sense of what this is and what it's capable of, from Frank to my cousin who can't sleep, and all of those things in between. This is a really, really powerful tool, and it's widely distributed, like right to right into the far north. It has a really incredible range. So I wanted to share that one. Just remember that it doesn't taste good. But yeah, we could switch gears here real quick. So there's a solid 30 of us here still. So you know what? I'll stop. We'll have like a solid 20 minutes where we could just enter into a kind of a discussion or Q&A if anybody has questions about anything, from my dog's name to a weird plant that you've seen or whatever. Like, that's when we could do it. But I wanted to share a couple of other medicines there that I think are really, really special, specific to the north, and honestly that I first found in Temagami. So this one right here, holy man, this is so cool. I knew it was going to be super awesome. I just sent Diva a message. I think like I never, I don't know if this is, Diva can correct me if I'm wrong, but I never like, usually there's just way too many people emailing me like, oh, do this, do that, do this. And I'm like, hey, let's go then. But I think I sent a message to Diva and I was like, can we let's can we do something? And that's what it felt like anyways. And I was like, oh man, I have such an attraction to Temagami area that and I think this is where it's coming from. So it's really good fun, exciting for me to kind of let these stories out. But anyways, here we go, Larry and Lorraine again, hanging out. um and I think this time we were blueberry picking because you guys know you have the most ridiculous patches of blueberries there, like grapes. It's crazy. We went out for like 2 days and we had like 3 years worth of blueberries, where we could have blueberries every single day for like 3 years. It was insane. Anyways, some secret spot there, fighting bears. It was really stressful, but it was fun. And we got lots of blueberries, and we were done super fast. So then we got to play. And how did I play? I asked Dave, which are, where'd you do your research? And he was like, oh, it's all cut. It's all been clear cut. He did his research in a real nice bog. He was describing watching hummingbirds grab the rusty colored fuzz out of underneath the where is it here? Out of underneath the Shkigabuk, the oh man, where is it? The Shkigabuk. What the heck? How come I can't even? Labrador tea. Yeah, it should be. Oh, it's right here. What the heck? I thought I went there. So that little fuzzy stuff underneath Labrador tea. Where is it when it looks all rusty? See how some of those are red? I guess most of us probably recognize Labrador tea. But Rhododendron groenlandicum Shkigabuk. It's got this rusty colored fuzz underneath. I thought I had a better image, but it's white early in the year, and then it turns rusty later. Anyways, he was like describing this utopia of Temagami just sitting in a sphagnum bog. Like, he doesn't tell me, no memory of the horseflies that are like this size of birds. He's not, he's just remembering the hummingbirds picking off the rusty colored fuzz and lining it inside of their nest. And I was like, how does a scientist like this guy just do so, like, just be able to accomplish master's research watching and observing in this utopia? I thought it was super weird. Anyways, I said, yeah, why don't you take me out to that place? And he was like, oh, because it's clear cut. It's not there. So I was like, oh, sucks. Well, can we go to a nice spot then? And he was like, oh, okay, yeah. So we went right on the edge of a spot that was being clear cut. And we were just walking around. There was lots of and then on duck, that's the black spruce, and all of the big thick sphagnum moss, and there was the Labrador tea everywhere. And I honestly didn't even really know much yet, but I knew of this one plant that was a women's medicine. And the Joe Trudeau there, he taught me, he said, this is a women's medicine to fix their back, because it gets all messed up when they're pregnant. Then their back gets all messed up because it's like a big, he's like, you put a big weight in the front of you for 9 months, your back is going to get all messed up too. So he said, yeah, just back pain. And I was like 7, like my daughter's age. And he was like, yeah, you just use that when there's back pain, you use the roots and you could just eat them. So I was like, oh, Like I just thought he was a crazy old man when I was 7. But then when I was in the bog in Temagami, Dave said, "Hey, this is a pitcher plant," and uh, and we call it makakim das, because these kind of look like a frog. Can just put these on like Lululemons. It's like frog Lulus, and and so he was like, "Yeah, it eats bugs." So he's describing to me how, you know, it catches rainwater, it converts the rainwater into digestive juices, acid. So bugs crawl in and then it digests them and eats them. So it can grow anywhere. And so it usually grows where plants don't like to grow, under and on the black spruce and very acidic kind of mossy places. That's where it likes to grow. And then and so I was remembering, I was like, holy, Joe Trudeau found, he said this is women's medicine for back pain. I said, can I pick this? And he was like, yeah, it's very, very common all here, you should be okay to pick it. And then I picked a whole bunch, and it was like a huge bundle, and I grabbed it and took all of the leaves off, because Joe Trudeau only had the roots and he just had a few. He put it in his pocket and remove something, and so I had a whole bunch. I took off all the leaves, I left them there. And this is blueberry harvesting season, and so this flower already had seeds inside of it that were pretty ripe, like this. And so I left all the seeds there. Maybe they'll grow, eh? And so I remember I was in at their place in Cobalt, and I went to the water, and somebody walked by. Well, because it was people's property there. They had docks and stuff inside the water, and I don't know the rules, so I just like went over there with all my roots and started throwing dirt in the water. And then somebody came and started getting mad at me. Hey, what are you doing? I was like, oh, just cleaning my medicine. And then he said, oh, yesterday morning a moose ran by and the bears are chasing it right behind it, so you better watch out. It's like, oh, okay. And I just kept cleaning my medicine. And then I ended up having like a big, like I had like 20 big, long pitcher plant roots. I realize now that that's super rare. Everywhere that I go, Espanola, Sudbury, they're like this big, and there's one or two. I've never picked pitcher plant like the way that I did in Temagami at one time, a long time ago. Anyways, I picked a whole bunch of it, and then I was like, oh, okay. I just let them dry out, and then I just make people eat it who have back problems, I guess. Like I was so green in my understanding of how medicine works. Uh, what happened with this is I had those roots for like almost a year. So all winter, and then it was in the summertime, I had all these scientists come over. And this is actually super, super cool. All these scientists come over, and they are making a program to teach Anishinaabe youth about science, make Anishinaabe excited about science. Oh, okay, I'll teach you medicine stuff. And because they were friends. Anyways, one of those women that were there, they just came to our house in Kaboni, and I saw one of that woman was standing, and she was sitting real crooked, and then she would put her back against the wall. She stands like this, and then she'll stand crooked on the other side. She'll try somebody's chair. Then she asks some of the other scientists, hey, can I steal that chair? I'll try that one. And then she's moving around, tested all of our different chairs. And then I said, what's wrong with you? She's like, oh, I have sciatica, so I can't, my back hurts. And then I was like, oh, your back hurts. Good. And then so I was teaching them. I just left, and then I crushed up those roots into powder, and then I made tea, And then I gave it to her. I said, here, drink that. Everybody's watching her. Ooh. And she drank that, started to drink the tea. And that particular girl, she was not shy, but she was really like kind of to herself. She'd be real polite, like, oh, excuse me, sir, can I maybe try to use your chair because my back really hurts? We'll switch. So she was like real. And then when she would ask, she would ask a question, and like, and her hand would barely even leave her body. Like she was real shy, real quiet, man. And then yeah, I was real happy that she had back that she had back problems. And so we made her the tea. She started drinking the tea. A couple sips in, and then she was sitting there, and then she starts bouncing, and then she's laughing, and then she just grabbed me right here, and she said, "Come here," and then took me into the back of my house, and she said, "Did you give me a drug?" And she was like, because I can't stop laughing. And she was like, I feel so happy. I don't know what's going on. And then I thought, oh no, maybe it is a drug. I don't know what's going on. Because like I just made her tea that Joe Turtle told me in the bush when I was 7. So I was like, I don't so then she was like uh upset at me, thinking I gave her something I shouldn't have. And I said, how's your back? And she was like, my back is great. And she was like, maybe that's why I'm laughing. Maybe that's why I feel so good. It was because her back felt awesome. So then we went back, sat down, I kept teaching. And then she went the whole rest of the week, like no sciatica. All of the pain was gone. And I guess her sciatica was fairly aggressive and complex, and and she had days where she was completely relieved. And so I gave her a couple of those roots that I picked in Temagami, and so here, and so I said, in case it comes back, you could eat those. And so she took them. She sent me one of the most beautiful messages that I ever got from anybody. She sent me a message, and she said, okay, I'm Jewish, and my grandfather, he's Jewish, and he fled. He is a orphan. Parents murdered in the camps, and so he was a kid, and he left knowing that his parents were murdered in the camps. He just got on a boat, sold some stuff, and got on a boat, and came to Canada. And he hopped off the boat, and he was like 9 or something. Like he was a kid. It was crazy. Got off the boat in Kitigansibe in Maniwaki, Quebec. That's where he got off of the boat, and he started working. And he raised a family, and that family grew to what it is today, which this guy has like great grandchildren, and there's like 70 of them. It's really beautiful. But one of the things is that if you like, because I know canoe tripping, and I went on the pontoon around Temagami, and it was amazing. And then the places that you guys talked about, and were like, I can't wait to go back and see those places. But in Kitigansibe, KZ, and Maniwaki, Quebec, that's a pretty magical place too. Just like one of the most picturesque. Like if you go there with a canoe and some food, you will be happy for a long time. And that was his mentality. Her grandpa was, this is a special place, and everyone needs to appreciate this gift that they are given, this beautiful place. And so they go on a 2-week canoe trip every year. Everyone has to go. Now they have like, 60, 70 family members. Now, now it's more, but mandatory. Everyone has to go on this big canoe trip every year to appreciate the beauty of that, new opportunity or new life that they were given. And it was super cool because she couldn't go on this canoe trip for like 2 years, and it just, because of her sciatica, because of her back pain, and it just broke her, and it was a huge issue. And later that summer, after she had that makakim daso, the pitcher plant root tea, she sent me a picture, and she was at the back of the canoe. So she was the steering, and which requires more back work, and just the smile was like one of the most incredible things. She was so happy to be able to be a part of that canoe trip. And then a few months later, she was in the Yukon or something like that, or like Northwest Territories. Her two favorite things on the planet was canoe tripping and horseback riding. Like, what a perfect person that gets sciatica. And after she had that tea, the one tea at my place, she still has those roots that I picked in Temagami. She went on the canoe trip, goes on the canoe trip every year. She went like 3/4 the way across Northwest Territories on a horse, lives somewhere up there now, started her family. But this stuff for back pain and sciatica is one of the most ridiculous things that, and it makes me feel like I know it's, it's just the medicine that's working, but I always feel like a wizard or something when I have it, because I could pick out sciatica like in a crowd when somebody is not uncomfortable with their back. You could see the way they're sitting, and it's just like, oh, I could tell usually when somebody has sciatica. And so like all you need is a little pea-sized piece, like a size of a dinner pea, and you just need to hold that in your mouth. You don't need to make tea. You don't need to make it harder than you have to. You just need to hold that little piece inside of your mouth, because the medicine, it's a saponin, a type of soap, it's absorbed sublingually. So it's absorbed through your mouth, and it's in your bloodstream in like 5, 10, 15 minutes at the latest. It's already in your blood. And so it's actually really crazy. In order for you to register back pain, in order for you to say, holy man, my back hurts, there you have sensory neurons in your spine that need to be inoculated with calcium. And once the sensory neuron is inoculated with calcium, it sends signals to the dorsal root ganglion. Your brain registers that as pain, says, oh, my back hurts. This medicine just sucks out all of the calcium in every sensory neuron in your lumbar. So in your lower spine, all of that pain is sucked out. All of the calcium is sucked out. And what a lot of the research suggests is that there's a shunting mechanism, something that prevents the calcium from coming back in. So you get a prolonged experience where there's no pain from the sciatica. And you're like, whoa, this is, it doesn't come back for, maybe a couple of days. All the while, the way that sciatica happens is, you have your discs, your spine, and say one of those discs slip, and you have your sciatic nerve in there. The sciatic nerve is getting pinched, and it's in shooting pain, or the sciatic nerve gets injured or severed by an injury or something. One of the things that sucks about sciatica and any nervous issue is that sugar, glucose, is incredibly toxic to most nerve cells. Sugar is really toxic to your sciatic nerve. That's why when you have diabetes, you have diabetic neuropathy. In your feet, you lose feeling in your feet, and you get that incredible neuropathic pain inside of your feet. So the excessive amounts of sugar are causing this. It's destroying your nerves. So you also have diabetes-induced sciatica, where you have such bad back pain because you have way too much sugar inside of your body. And that sucks. Obviously, the most important thing then is to find a way to limit the amount of sugar that's in your body and lower your insulin, which will come back to diet eventually. But the point is that sugar is incredibly toxic to your nerves. And if you have sciatica, if your sciatic nerve is being injured by something, by a car accident or just a slipping disc, and or from pregnancy or from whatever, if the sciatic nerve in your lower back is being injured and sending all of that pain into your legs and into your feet, that nerve is never going to be able to heal in the presence of sugar. It's never going to heal while the insult is still there, unless we have medicine like like Mukkim Das, the frog Lulus. Then your sciatic nerve is going to be able to heal in the presence of sugar. So even in the presence of the insult, it's going to be able to heal, repair itself, get rid of a lot of that inflammation and the reactive oxygen species, what causes all that inflammation, and begin to clean itself up. And more often than not, it's just, you know, 1 or 2 experiences with this root and the sciatica is gone. And it's my favorite thing. Like, I can't even believe this stuff is all around you guys. So it's really fun to be able to share this, to be able to, because it's my favorite thing to be able to give to people. Like, you know, here, drink this and have the best sleep ever. Or here, put this under your lip, and in 15 minutes, sciatica that you had for 30 years is going to be gone. But it's not just going to be gone, it's going to start to heal itself, and so that it'll never come back. And it's like the craziest thing. You're putting this little root inside of your lip, super messed up. And so, so you guys, you know, in Temagami area, you have lots of this medicine, and generally fairly easy to find. And so, yeah, you know what, just the sciatica, the back pain and back problems, and women's medicine. I know I talk about like the importance of you know, women and wives, moms out there having appropriate sleeps, how important that is for a family. While mommy with no back pain as well is really, really incredible. And it seeds itself really well. Like it makes like 800 seeds every year, and that's really easy to move around and plant. So I can't oh, that stuff is bitter. Yeah, so that's another really good one that I wanted to be able to share tonight. And it's just crazy. Like I was first found that in Temagami. The lady slipper was my first experience that helped me understand how amazing lady slipper roots is for sleep. And so I've been incredibly grateful for those experiences ever since ever since, you know, that happened to us. And so I feel like responsible for sharing that back with everybody that's there. So those are 2 really, really crazy things. Like I feel like saying, I mean, I feel like I don't have to at this point, but like some of these roots, they look freaky. I don't really have good pictures of the roots, to show anybody on here, but the roots are, they'll look kind of like weekend. They'll look hey, just like a normal root, but um yeah, it's insane when you see that root doing what it's supposed to do, what this plant is designed to do. It's such a magical experience to see somebody who's had sciatica for 30 years, who's on opiates to control the pain, like uh, uh, a dilaudid drip, and they come to this workshop dedicated to pain management, and I just tell them, put this in your lip, and then in 10 minutes, that's the experience that they have. Like they're able to stand up straight. It's pretty fun. And so yeah, it's a good one to be able to remember. Keep your eye out when you're out in the bush, you know, when you're eating black flies. My daughter was super funny because when we're because I tell her when you get a mosquito in your mouth, like don't try to cough it out, or if it like gets in your throat, don't bother trying to cough it out, because once you start coughing, you'll never be able to stop, and then you cough, and then you inhale, and then you'll suck more in, and it makes the cough. Like when you get a mosquito in your mouth, just swallow it. Like you'll never, just swallow it. Learn that in the north. So yeah, black flies, mosquitoes, like just swallow them. And I remember just a couple of days ago, me and my daughter went to go get seeds from some of our medicines that we pick. We get all of the seeds just about this time. So we're like running because there was so much mosquitoes. She was like, I'm not gonna wait for you, there's too much bugs. So I said, okay, run down, I'll pick these seeds, and then I'll catch up to you. And then I could hear and then it stops. and and then she's like, I swallowed 6 mosquitoes since the last time I saw you. Oh man, so funny. But yeah, okay, dang, we're already at 7:40. Oh man, I have so much that I wanted to be able to share. Okay. Um okay. The I'll stop there. I know we only talk about 2 medicines. But I really wanted to be able to share about those two appropriately. And so all of those stories I've been just thinking about for like really the past month since I've been emailing with Diva. So uh, it was really nice. And then honestly too, like I think about the most impactful medicines in your territory that we can understand. Uh, it's so fun to think about pain management, like your ability to control. Like you think about the women, well, only women so far, I guess, that I've helped that are apparently on like a morphine drip, Dilaudid drip, or some kind of crazy opiate medication to be able to control their sciatic pain. That's not just going to help with the woman with sciatica, but there's a ripple effect to observe that begins there, that can look at the ability then to affect that mother's ability to control her pain, and then to be there for her family, to be able to prevent that influx of opiate drugs coming into the community, to be able to, like, there's so many different ways that you could look at it. And I just thought, yeah, it's my favorite thing to be able to share. So I see lots of questions, or a couple questions anyways, in the Q&A. So I could start hammering through those. So we'll chat now. That was so fun. I'm sweating buckets. It's great.
That is great. Thanks so much, Joe. Yeah, we do have some questions, and I want to really encourage you guys, to our audience, to raise your hand, because we really want to hear your voice instead of just me reading these questions. So I'll start by reading them, but feel free to raise your hands and I'll know you want to speak, okay? So from Ogama Liana Far, she asks, how often is it okay to drink cedar tea?
Oh, okay, sweet. So cedar tea is something that we would have on our stove every single day for the entire year for our entire lives. And it was sort of between cedar tea and Labrador tea. These were the most important things. And so important that they would always be on our stoves, and we would always be drinking them from when we're kids to the absolute end. They were super important. The reason why is I think one of the reasons why, one of the most important reasons why today is that we have two parts to our immune system. We have your innate immune system, that's always on, it's always active, it's killing infections and pathogens before they cause an infection. Once those pathogens cause an infection, what we then have is your activated immune system that generally takes days to turn on. It takes a while, and it makes antibodies and kills these big infections. And so Labrador tea, the Rhododendron groenlandicum, that is what's going to be really important to help with your innate immune system, to help you so that you get better, so that you kill the pathogens, the virus, the bacteria, the protozoa, the fungus, proteins, whatever. You kill those before they cause an infection. Once you have an infection, then you use the cedar tea. Thuja occidentalis, this tea is going to give you the ability to get better faster, to be able to create those antibodies faster, to have more lymphocytes, to have to be able to deal with that infection much more efficiently. And so between the two of those, having a medicine that helps you so that you don't get sick, and then having a medicine that helps you get better faster, you're just going to be constantly sort of in this state where you're able to really do the work that you're supposed to do. And so this is something that we would drink every single day for our entire lives. And when the tea gets strong, we put it in the tub. And when we put it in the tub, that then those effects are, it's really good medicine for our skin. So to Liana Farr, often, for sure, often, especially now. My God.
In the time of COVID. Okay, awesome. Okay, so I have another question. This one's for a female friend. Is there and you kind of touched on this a little bit with the cedar tea, but I think you might have another point here. Is there a natural medicine for the skin condition, severe psoriasis of the scalp, likely caused due to cancer radiation? Her friend has tried everything. Do you have any suggestions?
Okay, so Melanie, yeah, you know what? This is a super important question. So yeah, I mean, in my last visit to Temagami, we made the bark baths, which was where the heck is it? We got some stripping all of the bark from willow. I'll just make sure it's in the chat here. Willow, we had alder and poplar were the main ones for the psoriasis. And we took all these. So there's like quite a few kids who know how to do this, or who did it, and like champing it was a lot of bugs when we went out there, and there wasn't a lot of bug spray. I had a couple bug jackets, but you guys are freaking tough as nails. It was I remember watching those kids, and from what I remember, like a lot of young girls were with us, and just out there, just taking the bark off, and they had mosquitoes on them that looked like fur, and it's okay. They just wipe it off every now and then. I was like, whoa, who are these people? But got lots of the bark off of these 3 trees. I just put them in the chat. I don't know if that's going to all panelists or yeah, okay, wait, here we go. There you go. And then yeah, so we just take all the bark off and you make tea with the bark and then you soak in it. So you make it like put it in your bathtub and you soak in that medicine mixture, and it's yeah, I guess that's the main kind of medicine that we would use for psoriasis. But what I want to say though is that for psoriasis, this medicine, the bark bath medicine, does not always work. And the only time that it doesn't work, so I could show you right here. So you take all the bark off the trees. Here's an alder, scrape all, like just peel it all off. It's so satisfying. First of all, willow is like a 20-foot long banana you get to peel. That's really fun. And then alder, it makes like this crackling, it's like bubble wrap, but like times 100. And it smells good, and it makes you super orange looking, which is fun too, a little bit. But yeah, you take all this bark off and then just kind of like chop it up and fold them all together, and then you make a bath, and then you just throw it in your bathtub and you soak in this tea, and that's going to have a really tremendous medicinal effect. That doesn't always work. I think there is a limiting factor, and this might sound super weird and kind of dumb at first, but super important for your friend, especially being through cancer and radiation. I think that there's a really, okay, well, maybe I could just say it this way. It's been almost a year that I haven't used medicine for psoriasis at all. I've never had to use medicine for psoriasis, for eczema, for said any skin condition. I've never had to use medicine for any of them at all yet. One of the things that we have to understand about our skin and skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema and all these different things, is that they are fed by and driven by food. And so for psoriasis, like what you're talking about for your female friend, is that if she would just stop eating any and all vegetable oils, vegetable seed oils like canola, safflower, sunflower, cottonseed, rapeseed, all those different, sesame, all the different oils, peanut oil, all those vegetable seed oils, that's been for almost a year now all I've ever had to say. We don't need medicine for skin conditions in my experience so far. And so that's super important to understand. So you can use the medicine helps, it works, but sometimes it struggles, and it only struggles in the presence of vegetable oils. And for the most part, if you get rid of vegetable oils, these conditions go away on their own. Vegetable oils will oxidize into some of the most toxic components that you could ever put in your body. Whereas, like, okay, let me just say it this way. This is actually super important. You take psoriasis, an autoimmune condition. Your body is killing your skin without there ever being anything wrong with your skin. And when a research institute wants to study psoriasis, they get a bunch of rats, or get a bunch of dogs, or get a bunch of monkeys, and they need to create psoriasis in these test subjects as fast as possible. The way that they do that is with polyunsaturated fatty acids, with vegetable seed oils, canola, cottonseed, rapeseed, grapeseed, all of those oils. Just give them a bunch of those polyunsaturated fatty acids, and they develop these horrible skin conditions. And then they could test the drug to see if it's going to work, to see if they can, move on to human trials or whatever. So if that's what they do to induce this disease in every other animal that's as closest to us, then that's got to have an impact on our skin and our skin's ability to develop this disease. And so if you stop vegetable oils and really focus on that, there's a tremendous response there. So that's important too. Okay. Oh, I spent way too much time there.
So Joe, I have a question from Sandra. I'm going to allow you to talk, Sandra. You can unmute yourself.
All right.
Another live voice.
Yay!
Yay! Joe, first of all, thank you so much. I find this really interesting, and you're such a great communicator and funny too. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Chimagwech, I really enjoying this. I'm really interested in the way that our elders describe things, because often it's from Anishinaabe Moin into English, and it's just real insight into the way they see things. And I'm always really interested in that. And you had mentioned earlier that your grandmother talked about it as being like light, or the way that she describes something. And I'm just wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. I found it really interesting.
Yeah, you know what? It was always super cool. That was the weirdest one with us and our relationship with my grandma, because it was usually like, oh, that's that's a kidney medicine, or that's a lung medicine, intestine medicine. It was always super simple with her. She would just say, this is for that, and that is for this. It was super easy. But for this one, and with Lady Slipper and Tamarack and Ziganish and Vervains and all these different medicines, she would describe electricity. Oh, what do you mean by electricity? She was like, oh, your brain, and then that's what she would say. Just like all of the light traveling through your body, all of the and yeah, I guess she was just describing neurons and nerves, and quite literally electricity, like lightning bolts throughout our body, and that was one of the only ones where we really had to ask for kind of clarification, like light in your body. What do you mean? But then if you think about it, it's like, yeah, that is kind of like the way that it would be. Like, yeah, it's super cool. It's fun that you picked up on that one. I like that.
Which
to you, Sandra. We have another question from Kim. Kim, did you want to go ahead and unmute yourself?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm wondering, do you use any kind of animals as medicine? Here, we use beaver castor.
Yeah.
We use beaver castor for toothaches, earaches, different things. Is there any of your medicines that use any of the animals, like the bear, or I know some people use bear parts also?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of really cool instances in nature where animals will live in different ecosystems. and they will concentrate the medicinal value of that system that they're living in. So like, yeah, the beavers are super cool. And yeah, we use lots of beaver castor in our medicine because they live in that swampy wetland kind of area, and all of the food that they eat are medicine. So they eat all of that medicine and concentrate it in different parts of their body. A skunk, the same thing. They have to eat a certain type of food to be able to create that smell, that chemical that is inside of their glands. And all of those are medicines that we use to prevent ourselves from getting sick. So to work with that innate immune system. And so you could take advantage of that animal's ability in concentrating the medicinal value of that system that it lives in, and reap the benefits there. Just like an animal, you know, you look at we don't even have to look at medicine. It's kind of funny if you look at food and you look at nutrition, like vitamin A. Vitamin A is a nutrient that is only found in animal foods, but plants will have a nutrient called carotenoids. So they'll have these carotenoids, they'll have these precursors to make vitamin A. And then when a moose or a cow or a sheep will eat that carotenoid from a sweet potato or a carrot or grass, they'll convert those carotenoids into vitamin A. And so they take medicine or nutrition from the plant world and they process it in a way that makes it available for us, for mammals. So they take the carotenoids, convert it to vitamin A, and then we eat those animals and we get the vitamin A that we need to be able to grow a nice big fat jaw, to be able to grow all of our bones and everything like that. And so the same thing happens at a microscopic level, where you get all of these animals that are consuming all of these medicinal plants and concentrating all of those plants' medicinal value and depositing it in the certain parts of their body, like a beaver castor or skunk glands, or even on a deer, the glands on a deer. Those are all medicine. So that's a really fun thing to think about. I love that. Yeah. So for sure, we use lots of that. It's just making the work easier for ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
All right. She unmuted here. Good.
I'll go ahead and mute you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So next question. So Joe, it's 8 o'clock. Are you okay to answer a few more?
Oh yeah.
Okay. When making lady pepper tea, Daisy asks, do you crush and boil the roots?
Yeah. So super simply, we take some of the roots and you grind it all up, and you could grind it into a dust, into a powder, and you just use the tiniest little bit. Pour some hot water over that and drink that before you go to bed. It's insane. It's so good. It's such a magical experience. So yeah, just grind it up real good. Pour some hot water over it. It does not need to be boiling or anything crazy like that. Yeah, just like regular tea. Like if you make red rose or whatever. Almost pretty much the same thing.
Excellent. Okay. Diva, did you want to go ahead? You're muted.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually my mom who's going to ask the question.
Oh, man.
Hi, Joe. Can you hear me?
For sure.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so my question is a little bit in left field, I guess. But
All
so
right.
as a gardener, what I've kind of saw was that certain plants show up more depending on the year. And I always felt like that plant is required. Like it's sort of like the plant world saying, you're going to need this. Has that been your experience?
That's actually super fun. Usually just in my experience, I do as much community work as I can, just like this, like just working with people from the community, get you out on the land, picking your medicine and doing these things of old. But you know what sucks though is you start picking these medicines and then you go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, you can't do that. I don't know what those plants are and what they're doing. And then everything gets all messed up. So I honestly spend most of my time with physicians, with doctors and pharmacists and medical schools in Ontario, teaching that we know what we're doing and this stuff works. It's very safe. It just takes a lot of words for me to be able to say it to them. And generally, when I'm teaching there, I have to be extremely valid or science-based. And it has they have to understand what I'm saying. So if I go and say something like this, it's like you know, it'll raise a bunch of eyebrows. But you know what? In my experience, holy man, that is such a freaky idea where a community is dealing with these issues. Like one community just has crazy fibromyalgia. Like how can basically an entire community have fibromyalgia? It was insane. I was like, this is not natural. This should be like published. Everybody has fibromyalgia. Well, their entire island is covered in the medicine that we use for fibromyalgia, and they were able to pretty well get rid of it with most of their community members because they were living in fields of it. And it's you know what, sometimes we get that situation where it's like, what the hell, like it's right there. So that's a real as far as I'm concerned, a very real experience of ours.
And why not, right? Like, why wouldn't that be something? It's the natural world communicating, and if you're listening, there you go, right?
It's
very cool fun. Though. Super fun. Thanks, Joe.
Super fun. Look at me, I'm so listening.
Great conversation. So Angela asks, what would be good for high blood pressure and arthritis?
Okay, so high blood pressure, don't get mad at me. Was it Angela? Right here. Oh, okay, yeah. So high blood pressure, hypertension is hyperinsulinemia, and is a product of metabolic dysfunction. Is an issue with our metabolism. There's too much sugar inside of our body. There's too much insulin inside of our body. Communications are down, and damage is up, and high blood pressure is just one of those things that happens when we're hyperglycemic and hyperinsulinemic. So we need to take care of our metabolism. The Labrador tea is going to be one of the best things that give you the opportunity to be able to get control over your metabolism. So yeah, I guess that's the best thing that I can say. When uh um hmm, yeah, I could probably leave it at that. It's the Labrador tea is really going to help. Basically, all that it does is high blood pressure is when you have too much sugar inside of your body, too much sugar inside of your blood, and the sugar is destroying the endothelial cells. Those endothelial cells will be there's going to be lots of inflammation and restricted blood flow and high blood pressure. So you need less sugar inside of your blood. How do you have less sugar inside of your blood? Is when you need to understand that your muscles are the primary site of glucose disposal in your entire body. Your muscles control your blood sugar, and over 80% of the sugar that you use is burned in the muscle. If you don't use your muscles, the sugar is not burned. Where does the sugar go? Insulin sends it into your nerves, into your kidneys, into your blood vessels to cause the damage, into your eyes to cause the damage. That's why when you have diabetes, you have nerve damage, kidney damage, you end up on dialysis, and you have blood vessel damage, you bruise easy, and have high blood pressure, all of this different stuff. So the problem is getting the blood sugar controlled, and it's your muscles that do that, not insulin. But that sounds super weird for me to say it that way, but yeah, so using things like Labrador tea is going to give your muscles the ability to burn all of the sugar, so that insulin doesn't have to send the sugar elsewhere, into your nerves, into your blood vessels to cause damage and high blood pressure, into your kidneys to cause end up on dialysis, into your eyes and cause glaucoma, macular degeneration, all of those things. So your muscles burn all of the sugar, so you do not need insulin to bring those down later. In the most general, way overgeneralized sense, this is the best thing that you could ever do for high blood pressure. But also within that description and explanation, we need to be moving. You could use this medicine all you want, but if you don't use your muscles, the muscles aren't going to burn the sugar. So that's an issue, is that we don't really move anymore. So there's a lot to consider with that. And I think that with the Labrador tea, moving and possibly, restricting carbohydrates and stop vegetable oils, that's going to really, really help with your blood pressure. And then I forget the other half of that question. Arthritis. Yeah, arthritis. I guess, you know what I could say? I could show you right here. This is the way that it's going to look right now. That is red oyster dogwood. Squabim novons. Whoops, that's my kid. Squabim novons. Let's get these red berries on it. I mean, these white berries on it. Nice red stems. Red oyster dogwood, or red willow. People will call it red willow. This bark, we could just make tea. You could cook it in oil and make a salve too, but the tea is going to be just as beneficial. That's the best thing you could ever do for arthritis. That's our main medicine, right into the Arctic Circle. Arthritis is the #1 disease that affects First Nations people, and the red oyster dogwood is medicine for that, and it does what it's supposed to do. So just like red oyster dogwood, the red willow is nice and flexible. When you get arthritis, that's what you need for you to be nice and flexible too. So when you start to get stiff and sore, you say, hey, you need to help me be nice and flexible again. And that's exactly what it does. So without a 2-hour explanation, arthritis is honestly one of my favorite things to teach about, just because of the issues that come from that. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good start.
That is a good start. Thank you for that. Thank you, Angela. Daisy, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Hi, it's actually Kite. I don't know
good.
why I'm saying my mom's account,
Okay.
but I wanted to ask, can you overuse a medicine and is there like negative side effects if you do that?
Yeah, every medicine is going to be different. Every medicine has a proper way to use it. Everything that I like to teach about though are medicines that don't really have like that upper tolerable intake. I like to teach about all of the medicines that are super safe, that we can always have and enjoy, that taste good too. I mean, the lady slipper roots, they have that cat pee kind of taste. They don't necessarily taste the best, but oh, the sleeps you have are so good. But like, yeah, there's no like, I filter what I teach about, because there are medicines that like, if you touch them too much, they're gonna stop your heart. Like, they're arterial sedatives, and so you can't even, like, if you pick too much, you're gonna die. So I'm not gonna teach about those. And like super rare plants, I don't want to teach about plants that that we can potentially run into extinction. I want to teach about the easiest, simplest, safest. Everything that I talked about tonight is really easy to be able to use, and are where we can have a lot of them. And then that's why also tonight, I was very specific to be able to show or explain the lady slipper roots and the sleep, about how in New Credit we made 3.5 gallons of tea with a quarter of a teaspoon of roots, and everyone took home a half a cup and reaped all those benefits. That's why I was really said tonight that the pitcher plant roots, the girl, people just have to put a little pea-sized piece in their mouth, and that's all they need. Maybe 2 or 3 of those, like hardly any. But still, these plants do not really have a point where you can have too much that they're going to cause problems, because they are the ones that I talked about tonight. Your body can get rid of them pretty easily. They're not very complex at all. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
Sweet.
Much.
Thanks, Kite. Okay, next question from Kathy.
Oh yeah.
What can we take if we have thyroid issues and losing hair?
Okay. Yeah. So this is gonna get real redundant real fast. So the thyroid issues and losing hair. Where the heck? Oh, okay, there it is. Yeah, I keep messing up. It's gonna be the Labrador tea again. The thyroid problems and losing hair is insulin resistance. It is metabolic dysfunction, metabolic disease, maybe not necessarily diabetes. You don't have to be diagnosed with diabetes. Insulin resistance begins far sooner than that. So thyroid issues, losing hair, this is a disease of hyperinsulinemia. Too much insulin is required for you to maintain normal blood sugars. And probably at the point where you're losing hair and have diagnosed thyroid issues, you are not controlling blood sugars appropriately, and they are slightly elevated, so maybe pre-diabetic. But the point is that they just require way too much insulin. Your body requires way too much insulin to try and maintain normal blood sugar. So that needs to come down. And some of my favorite therapies for thyroid and losing hair is long form or prolonged fasting. So on our Creators Garden Facebook page, we do a 3-day monthly fast where we choose the first 3 days of every month. Doesn't matter when it happens, the first 3 days of every month, and we fast. And the amount, so hundreds of people do this with us every month. It turned into a little community thing, and it's super fun. But the amount of people who have thyroid problems, I don't think anybody specifically came back with the losing hair issue, but just the after 2 days of fasting, your insulin levels in your body are immeasurable. We can't even, your body is not using insulin at all. And without that insulin inside of your body, things are able to communicate appropriately, and diseases, so many different types of diseases are able to undergo the necessary repair that needs to happen. And so lots of thyroid issues are being resolved as a result of the prolonged fasting. But again, just understand that this is an issue of insulin and sugar and metabolic dysfunction. So diabetes, obesity, these things play a role within that. And if we just are utilizing things like Labrador tea, we're going to be able to utilize the sugar in our muscles, burn the sugar, and then insulin levels throughout the month will be much lower. And with insulin levels low and glucose controlled via the muscles, a lot of thyroid problems and hair loss begins to resolve. It's a really, really simplified version. If I can, just super quickly, just in case I don't get to come back for a while, and this, this is important. 3 additional rules to that, I guess. Labrador tea is important, but also vegetable oils are going to make everything worse. There's a lot like vegetable oils, vitiligo, vegetable oils, and alopecia, vegetable oil metabolites like 4-HNE and the other oxalams, and in generating the insulin and resistance needed to lose the hair. That's super important. Restricting carbohydrates and moving a little bit more. That on top of the Labrador tea, our metabolism is going to be rocking. A little bit of fasting in there, and that's probably the best thing that I could say for the thyroid issues, hyper or hypo, or a fluctuation between the two. That's probably the best thing that we could consider.
Thanks, Joe. So as you can see, there's a few more questions in the queue. Diane has left, so I don't know if you want to just skip that for now, or we can email her later. You've already touched on.
I could tell Diane too if you want to answer her question.
This will be online.
Yeah. I could do. This is really good. So even to Daisy's or whatever the other name was there, I forget, but the eczema, eczema is a sensitivity to a type of food, so you really don't need. It's been years since I've ever used medicine to help with eczema. It's a food-borne, food-driven and generated disease, which is now classified as an autoimmune disease. But yeah, it's driven by food. And so this is like generally dairy, wheat, soy, whatever. Sometimes one boy was even only cashews was causing his eczema to just like all his hands would just crack and bleed everywhere. If he had cashews, all he needed to eliminate was the cashews. And so the most appropriate thing for eczema is an elimination diet. And the ultimate form of an elimination diet is just to exclude all plant foods. All plant foods and all dairy will and can contribute to eczema. So if you get rid of all of those, you'll be able to identify the trigger. And once you identify the trigger, the eczema, it's crazy. Like I get even pregnant women who are breastfeeding exclusively not pregnant women, women who just had their baby, they're exclusively breastfeeding and their child is covered in eczema. That mother needs to stop having dairy. That mother needs to stop having cashews or soy or wheat or whatever the allergen is. And the eczema on the baby is going to go away. So that's super, super important to understand about eczema. I'm extremely passionate about skin issues, being a sufferer of eczema myself. And when I mess up, have a food that I'm not supposed to, I'm going to be blistering and cracking and bleeding for weeks. And so I understand the pain and the struggle. And this is honestly the most important thing that needs to be understood. Yeah. But yeah, to Diane, the plant medicines for gut microbiome health, probiotics, or anything good to possibly ferment. So I think the most important thing for our gut microbiome is just being outside. Just be like, just, like having dirty hands is fine. Humans are designed, our gut is, our stomach is anywhere, like to measure the acidity of the stomach is going to be anywhere from 1.2 to 2.5, which is incredibly acidic, enough to so acidic that we can digest a razor blade in minutes. That's how acidic our stomach acid is supposed to be, which is on par with scavengers of the world, like vultures, have an extremely acidic stomach because they're designed to eat rotten food. And when you eat rotten food or rotting food, there are pathogens, there's bacteria, there's microbes, pathogens that are in the food that need to be burned and killed in the stomach. That's the kind of stomach acidity that we have, right? Like that's what we're supposed to have. We have a bunch of vegetables, we dilute that, but our digestive system is supposed to be incredibly acidic. And if we are eating a diet that supports the natural acidic stomach that we are supposed to have between 1.2 and 2.5, then we're running around the bush with dirty hands, eating lunch with, earthworm juice all over our finger. We're getting all of those microbes, and that's what's going to attribute to we get over 80% of the gut microbiome. And all of this research, all the research that you do regarding the microbiome is incredibly new. And everything that you research, just know that everybody who's publishing anything on the microbiome says or needs to say that we really don't know what we're talking about yet, but we're having a conversation about it. It's such a new idea. We don't really know anything about it, but what we do know is that we get most of the microbes, good microbiome that fill our gut, come from the soil, come from our environment, not from our food. So stay dirty.
Stay dirty. Kim, I'm not sure if I just forgot to put your hand down, but if you want to speak, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hi, Heidi. Yeah, I did put my hand down,
Okay.
but yeah, it was an excellent evening, and yeah, we need to get more dirty. And the moose is our best food for everything our body needs. Miigwech, Joe.
Yes, Kim knows what's up. She's talking about something super special too. When you are a part of that process, that moose is collecting and fermenting and growing all of those bacteria. And when you are there with the moose and you're preparing it, you're dressing it, you're gutting it, and you're inside of that moose, you're grabbing all of those, that microbiome that the moose gathered from the whole territory that it lives in, all those bacteria, it grew them just for you. and and so that's super important, like just being outside and responsible for our lifestyle. That's super important. You talk about microbiome, that's something that has to be done. You're not going to get the microbiome of the Anishinaabe without being in the belly of a moose, uh tearing it apart in the bush, and consuming that. So the lining of the stomach, the tripe, it's a really good food. A lot of us will leave the moose stomach and organs in the forest when they're very important.
Do
Yeah.
you, okay, so Kite just made a comment about it seems like that carbohydrates and not enough exercise is the root of a ton of health problems, and traditional niche diet, including feast and famine cycles, seem to be the ultimate prevention. And this is a youth of ours, so she's already, putting this all together, and that's awesome. That's why we thank you for being here. And Brian mentions, he actually asks if pitcher plant can be used for males as well. Is it recommended for someone with disc issues?
Oh yeah. So sciatica is generally, of course, regarded as a women's issue. There is not a lot of men who have sciatica, um, and it just has to do with just the physical structure of the woman's body, and also pregnancy and what that does to their back. So that's not to say though that it doesn't happen in men either. Of course, there's lots of sciatica in men, and uh, I guess all we have to remember is that uh, this medicine. All right. Oh, no, must be right here. No, there it is. The pitcher plant, Mukakim Das. This is medicine for your back. No matter if you're a male or a female. You look at this. You even look at the way the plant looks. The structure of it looks just like the same curvature as your spine, and so that's what this medicine is designed to help with, and is what it helps with. And so guy, gal, it's gonna help with your back, so be good for your buddy.
Awesome. Okay. So Angela asked also how often those medicines were used. I think she was referring to the I have to go back. It was about high blood pressure and
I think it was their arthritis.
arthritis. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then we're gonna wrap. Okay. I think that's the last of everybody's questions. And sorry, Joe, we kept you a half an hour afterwards.
Oh, it's good. It's good. I knew this would be awesome. Yeah. So, the arthritis medicine there, the red oyster dogwood, Scobim Lawons. This one, yeah, you make the tea, and you could have you're gonna know, like if you have arthritis and you have this tea, you're gonna know within a half hour that this is there's something phenomenal about this. And also you're going to know the next day when you wake up, the sleep that you had, the way that you feel in the morning, the way all of your joints feel as soon as you wake up, like, you know, there's something incredible happening. And so adherence to the protocol of 3 cups a day or something like that, 3 to 5 cups a day. Having 5 cups of tea a day is probably just about at everybody's limit. But yeah, 3 to 5 cups a day, 2 cups a day even. If you have 1 cup a day, it's still going to be doing its thing. It's going to be doing what it's supposed to do, is give you all of the tools that you need to become as flexible as you need to be. And so cup after cup after cup, it's going to do what it's supposed to do. There would be no point in having more than 3 to 5 cups a day. It's not like the more that you have, the better it's going to work. But yeah, just around that, you know, just enjoying it. That's for everything that I said about everything is just enjoying it. Enjoy your tea. You don't need to make super strong cat pee tea. You don't need to make super strong. You need to make these the way that you like them and enjoy them. And if you could enjoy 3 cups a day for the red oyster dogwood, 5 cups a day of the red oyster dogwood, you're going to feel really good. And that just can, without going into detail, you just continue to feel better until the disease is gone, until your fingers are straight, until the osteophytes are gone, until you can move like you could when you were 18 again. And that's what happens. And so you just enjoy tea until that day comes. And that day is usually around 8 months away from severe arthritis to like 18 again. So it's really crazy. And I really love sharing all of these things. There's so many amazing medicines that we could talk about. We mainly talked about 2 tonight. And you got to have at least 200 there. So I'm so happy Diva was so nice and just, okay, let's go.
Yeah, I want to say thanks so much, Diva, for organizing this. And Joseph, your information every time, you're just so interesting. And like Sandra was saying, just sort of easy to hear and easy to kind of take this knowledge in. And we have some people who just want to know how to reach out to you. Is Facebook the best way to follow you on Facebook, or?
Yeah, we have our Facebook page. We put stuff on YouTube, and we're on Instagram. And
what's the one where you subscribe to it?
There's Twitch and Patreon.
Yeah.
Right here, I'll share it up. Awesome. So there's all of our links. Yeah, Patreon, we have a bunch of stuff, and YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Diva, do you want to add any final words? Yeah, no, Miigwech show. This was awesome as always. I know I can't believe the time went by that quickly. I'm sure we can probably plan like another session sometime, and hopefully you'll be able to come and visit us again soon.
I know.
After these COVID times.
I know. My daughter's always like, you remember that place where you put the big tapes in and you watch the movie? Because at the they have a VHS.
At the wigwams, yeah.
At the wigwams, yeah.
That's awesome.
And then we're like, I don't know what you're talking about, big tapes. And she's like, we went and saw the bullfrogs and we caught a little fish. And she has all these memories there. So that's yeah, I can't wait to go back.
Yes. No, yeah. Miigwech again. This was awesome. Miigwech everyone for attending. This is like a pretty good turnout for another Zoom event. So I really appreciate everyone attending as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the participation is awesome. We need the audience to, have their 2 cents too. And it's so nice to have that two-way dialogue. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that was fun. Super cool. All right. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. That was fun. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night. Miigwech.
Bye.